I told her, I said, the proof is in the pudding. Let's go get the DNA.
So this is the DNA test, and it says the probability of relatedness is 96.7%.
That's my granddaughter. If she's nothing else, she's my granddaughter.
You asked her if she was pregnant.
And
you
I
didn't
just
ask
told her she was pregnant. I didn't ask her.
Oh, you told her?
I said, girl, you're pregnant. Look how fat you're getting. She just laughed it off.
Do you have a secret sister?
I believe I do have a sister out there.
For nearly 4 decades, one of the most persistent rumors in pop culture has followed Janet Jackson like a shadow she can't quite shake. Did Janet Jackson secretly had a child in the 1980s? A child she was allegedly forced to give away in order to protect her career and public image? Despite Janet's repeated denials, the rumor refuses to die. And the people keeping it alive? Some of them are shockingly close to the story, including her ex-husband, his family, and even a few women who believe they might be that very child. This isn't just a random headline from the past. It's an emotional mystery that still haunts people in the present. The story begins in 1984, a time when Janet Jackson was only 18 years old. On the surface, she was a superstar, emerging from the massive shadow of the Jackson family. But behind closed doors, her life was reportedly tightly controlled by her father, Joe Jackson, whose reputation for discipline and domination was already the stuff of legend. According to those close to her, Janet's marriage to James DeBarge that same year wasn't just about love. It was an escape, an impulsive leap toward freedom from her father's grip. James DeBarge, a member of the rising R&B group DeBarge, was charming, troubled, and already dealing with a growing drug problem. Their whirlwind marriage lasted barely a year, plagued by instability, addiction, and arguments. But some believe it wasn't just personal problems that caused their relationship to unravel. Some say it was a secret Janet was hiding. Over the years, multiple people, especially within the DeBarge family, have claimed that Janet was visibly pregnant during that brief marriage. They say they saw it with their own eyes.
Did you ever see Janet where you thought she was pregnant?
Yes. When the marriage was annulled, that Janet was pregnant. And James believed that as well.
You believe that there's a child.
I think we all believed that James and Janet had a child.
A baby bump under flowing outfits, subtle signs at public events, strange behavior in private. They claim Janet's team, possibly even the Jackson family, may have orchestrated a quiet disappearance, sent her away for a few months, and handed the child off to someone else to raise in secrecy. The motive? To protect Janet's image, her career, and the Jackson legacy from the scandal of a teenage pregnancy. One of the most vocal believers in the secret child theory is James DeBarge himself. And he's not just speculating, he says he knows. In 2012, while serving time in prison, James wrote a letter detailing his belief that he and Janet had a daughter, and that she was hidden from him for decades. He said he had always suspected something, but was manipulated and shut out by powerful people who had everything to gain from keeping the child a secret. Since then, James has continued to speak about the alleged child in interviews, sometimes emotionally, sometimes erratically, but always with the same conviction that somewhere out there, his daughter exists, and he will never stop looking for her. What makes this story even more compelling is the number of people who echo James's beliefs. His daughter, Christina DeBarge, has said publicly that she believes she has a secret sister, not because of rumors, but because of the pain she's seen in her father's eyes when he talks about it. Christina has said she feels sadness, confusion, and a deep sense that something was taken from her family. She's hinted that Janet's powerful circle may have buried the truth to protect her from scandal at the time, and Christina's not alone. Other members of the DeBarge family, including James's sister Bunny and his brother Daryl, have come forward over the years to say they either saw Janet pregnant or firmly believed that a child existed. They describe moments from the past that never made sense, until they connected the dots. Meanwhile, Janet Jackson has remained firm in her denial. In her 2022 documentary, she finally addressed the rumor head-on, saying that it was simply untrue. She explained that during that time in her life, she had gained weight due to birth control, and that people mistook her changing body for signs of pregnancy. Janet emphasized that she could never have hidden a child, especially not from her controlling father. She said the idea that she could sneak away, give birth, and pretend nothing happened is simply not true. And yet, despite her clear and direct statement, the rumors didn't go away. If anything, the documentary only fueled more speculation, with fans pointing out moments they felt were a bit too carefully worded. Then came Tiffany White, a woman who, in 2017, stepped into the spotlight claiming to be Janet and James's long-lost daughter. She said she had grown up hearing whispers from people around her that she was adopted, that her mother had once been famous, and that clues in her background led her to believe she might be the missing child. Tiffany's claim sparked intense media coverage, especially after James's mother said she believed Tiffany's story and felt an emotional connection with her. For a brief moment, it felt like the mystery might finally be solved. But a DNA test quickly shut the door. Tiffany was not a biological match to either James or Janet, and yet, even after the test results, James expressed that he still believed his child was out there, just not Tiffany. So, what keeps this story alive? The answer lies in the emotional weight behind the rumor. For James DeBarge, this isn't just gossip. It's a sense of loss he's never been able to explain. For his family, it's a puzzle piece that's always been missing. And for fans of Janet Jackson, it's part of a larger fascination with the secrecy and control that surrounded the Jackson family for decades. From Michael's battles with the press to the whispered stories about Joe Jackson's iron-fisted rule, the Jacksons have always been surrounded by a fog of mystery, and this story fits all too well into that pattern. What makes the secret child theory so compelling is how plausible it sounds within the context of the 1980s music industry. At the time, image was everything, especially for a young female artist trying to break out of a famous family's shadow. A teenage pregnancy, tied to a volatile marriage with a rising R&B star struggling with addiction, would have been devastating to Janet's career. Her label had millions invested in her success. Her father had spent years molding her into a marketable product. And the Jackson name, already scandal-prone thanks to Michael's rising fame, couldn't afford another family controversy. If a pregnancy did happen, it's not hard to imagine a powerful team stepping in to make it disappear from the public eye. But here's the thing, there's still no definitive proof. No birth certificate, no adoption papers, no whistleblower with hard evidence. Just stories. Stories from people who say they remember, emotional testimonies from a fractured family, and a whole lot of speculation. In a world where DNA testing is widely available and secrets rarely stay hidden for long, some wonder, if the child really existed, wouldn't we know by now? Part of what makes the alleged secret child story so compelling is how raw and emotional James DeBarge's claims are. He doesn't speak like a man chasing attention. He speaks like someone haunted. You can hear it in his voice when he talks about the confusion, the helplessness, the years of wondering. Whether or not the child existed, the grief is real, and so is the anger. James has long hinted that the Jacksons used their influence to erase the truth, and while there's no proof of a cover-up, it's not hard to believe that someone like Joe Jackson, known for his ruthless control over his children's lives, might have stepped in to protect his youngest daughter's future. Back then, appearances were everything. And a baby outside of marriage, especially in a family with a strict Jehovah's Witness background, would have been seen not just as a scandal, but as a betrayal. It's also worth looking at the timing. Janet's marriage to James happened right before her breakthrough as a solo artist. Her 1986 album, Control, wasn't just a title, it was a statement, a bold, rebellious reinvention of a young woman taking the reins of her life. But what if Control also meant erasing the past, starting fresh? It's possible that the message of the album was more than metaphorical, that before she could take control of her career, she had to leave something behind. Whether that something was a toxic marriage, a painful secret, or, as some believe, a child. Fans have long speculated that the album marked a turning point where Janet stepped out of one life and into another. And then there's the Rebby theory. For years, some fans have speculated that Janet's oldest sister, Rebby Jackson, quietly adopted the child and raised her as her own. This idea didn't come out of nowhere. It was based on timing, photographs, and small details that fans pored over obsessively. Rebby, who was far more private than her siblings, had children of her own around that time. Could she have taken in Janet's child to shield her younger sister from scrutiny? Could that explain why certain family members have remained vague or evasive in interviews? To this day, no one in the Jackson family has ever publicly supported the secret baby rumor, but their silence, in some eyes, speaks volumes. Even if Janet never had a child, it's telling how ready people are to believe she did. It's a reflection of how fame strips away privacy and paints every unexplained moment as part of a grand conspiracy. Gained a little weight, must be pregnant, disappeared for a few months, must have had the baby, distant from a family member, must be hiding a connection. That's the trap of being a public figure. Your story is no longer yours. It belongs to the world, and they'll write their own version whether you like it or not. Still, it's hard to ignore how many pieces of this story fit together just a little too well. The DeBarge family's consistent claims, the emotional wounds that haven't healed, the multiple women who've come forward over the years claiming to be the child, including at least 2 who were initially embraced by members of the DeBarge family before DNA ruled them out. Even today, forums and YouTube videos speculate about potential daughters, compare faces, and analyze old interviews for hidden meanings. It's become a kind of pop culture detective story, part tragedy, part obsession. And what's even more heartbreaking is that the deeper you go, the less it becomes about fame and more about people trying to find connection. James DeBarge, whatever his past struggles, seems genuinely broken over the idea of losing a daughter he never got to meet. His family, fractured and scattered by addiction, poverty, and broken dreams, seems to cling to the rumor not just as a theory, but as a piece of hope. Hope that something beautiful came out of James and Janet's short-lived love. Hope that a child is out there, living a full life. and maybe one day, she'll find her way back to them. But what about Janet? For her, this rumor has been both cruel and invasive. To be a woman in the public eye is to have your body and your choices constantly scrutinized, to have people question your word, to have the most private parts of your life turned into public debates. Janet's denial isn't just a statement, it's a plea. She said that she couldn't have hidden a pregnancy from her father, that the rumor hurt her deeply, and that she would never abandon a child. And yet, no matter how many times she explains, it never seems to be enough. Some people simply don't believe her, which raises the uncomfortable question, why? Why is the public so reluctant to take Janet at her word? Is it sexism? Is it the hunger for drama that fuels gossip culture? In many ways, this isn't just Janet's story, or James's. It's a story about how fame fractures reality, how families with cameras pointed at them 24/7 still manage to keep secrets, how the truth, once lost, becomes almost impossible to recover, and how people hold on to stories, not just to expose the past, but to make sense of the pain. And so the question lingers. Was there a child? Was Janet Jackson forced to give up her baby to protect her image, her family, her future? Or was this all a tragic misunderstanding, born from the chaos of a young, troubled marriage and the pressure cooker of fame? We may never know, but the story will likely live on, as long as those who lived through it still believe it matters. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed that breakdown, then make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one.